Hello and welcome to AccountEdge Plus 2016, the UK version. We'd like to show you what's been added to this year's release. The first thing you'll notice when you open AccountEdge in the morning, if you've left it open overnight, you'll see that AccountEdge will notice that the date has changed and ask you to update the date. Simply just enter the current date and all your transactions from here forth will use the current date that you've entered. One of the major changes we made to AccountEdge in 2016 is updating the look and feel of the purchases and sales windows. Let's enter a sale and we'll show you what we mean. First, when you open the window, you'll notice right away there's a whole new set of fonts, making it easier to read, as well as alternating gray rows in the middle of this transaction. At the top of the window, you'll see two arrows, letting you go back and forth between your transactions. So now you can see all of your sales transactions without leaving the sales window. If we go back and look at a previous transaction, you'll notice if the transaction's been paid, there's a rubber stamp showing that it's been paid. At the bottom, you'll notice that the icons have been removed from the buttons, and the buttons are all the same size, making them easier to click and see. You'll also notice, in addition to the new fonts we've used, we've also made the window resizable. So now if you have a large monitor, it's a great way to see more detail. The next new feature we added is lead tracking. So from the card file, let's look at the card list, and you'll see there's a new tab for leads. So let's drill into Jen's Java house, and it looks just like a customer. But when you go to the card details window, you'll notice two new fields for lead source and lead status. There's also a few reports that help you use this information. Under the list menu, you can actually define the members of those lists so you can track the leads and the statuses and their sources that match your business needs. In the History tab, you'll see when they became a lead. So now let's use Jen's Java house in a sales transaction. So we'll come over to Sales, and we'll type her name in. And we'll sell them an item. You'll also notice that we put the number of days in showing you when it's due, and if it's past due, it'll be in red. Once we record this transaction, AccountEdge will alert you that you've used a lead for this transaction, asking you if you'd like to convert them to a customer. We'll say yes. Now we'll come back to our card file, and you'll notice that Jen's Java house is no longer a lead, but when we go to the Customer tab, you'll notice here she is. If we drill in and go to the History tab, you'll now see additional information showing when she became a lead, when it was converted to a customer, as well as other information. And now I'd like to turn it over to Tony Hobbs, who will walk you through some of the payroll changes specific to the UK version of AccountEdge.
Thanks, Todd. This year's changes to payroll largely consist of changes to automatic enrolment. We've expanded the feature set and made things a little bit easier and smoother for customers who are enrolling their employees or enrolled already their employees in pensions. So we'll go through the whole setup. We'll start off by going to Command Centers and Payroll and General Auto-Enrollment Information. This is where you'll set your staging date, the pension provider, and standard information about your setup. In AccountEdge, we provide for three pensions: Now Pensions, Nest, and the People's Pension. There is a setting here for Other, which you can use to set up a generic pension provider and produce export files using a report. So select that if you're not using Nest, Now, or the People's Pension. These fields here, employees code, employer code, scheme codes, those are all provided by your pension provider, and they will change depending on which pension provider you select. So let's click OK. So the next thing to do is set up the pension deductions and expenses for the employee and employers. If we head over to the Payroll Command Center and Payroll Categories, here you'll see that we've got a deduction set up already for Now Pensions 5%. If we click into it and have a look, this is a deduction that is automatically calculated and equals 5% of qualifying earnings. You can choose to have the calculation based off qualifying earnings, NIC wages, gross wages, whatever is your company policy there. Qualifying earnings is a new feature for the 2016 version. Make sure that you tick that this is an employee pension contribution and select the employees that are going to be having this deduction taken off their pay. You can do this from the employee card if you want to, but we're doing it here from the payroll category. So that's the deduction. If we head over to the expense, this is the now pension 5% for the employer contribution. Again, the expense basis is equaling 5% of qualifying earnings. Again, the company policy would dictate how you set this up. Ensure that you select the same employees who you had for the deduction category, and decide whether you want to print on payslip. Okay. So having created our pension categories, the next thing that you will do is to have a look at the employees assessment report. So if we click over to reports and look in the payroll section and head down the list of reports into the tax and compliances, you'll see here there's a report called auto-enrollment assessment. And if we customize this, by default it'll show all of our employees, and it'll base it on either recurring pay, their last paycheck, or the paycheck for a particular period. It really depends on how you want to assess, but on this occasion we haven't got any pay in the year yet, so we'll do the assessment based on their recurring pay, i.e. their default pay. If we display that, you can see that AccountEdge will have a look at the employee setup, their wages, their age, and so on, and in the status column we'll tell you how this employee should be treated. So we have Joe Bloggs, who has a right to opt in, and we have Fred Fredrickson and Penny Wheeler, who should be automatically enrolled. So once we've determined which employees we need to be setting up, we'll go over and head into the employee card. So if we go over to card list and into the employees, and let's have a look at Joe Bloggs. So in the payroll details section, you'll see that there's a new feature here, auto-enrollment, and in here we've got their assessment type. We have enrollment date, their opt-in date, and various other codes and references here. Some of these you're going to need to speak to or reference to your pension provider's information. So let's click OK, having set this up, and head over to processing the payroll. So processing the payroll is no different to normal. Here we're going to just process monthly employees for April. So all employees paid monthly, and we'll see that if we look in this paycheck, automatically AccountEdge has calculated the pension deduction for the employee and the pension contribution for the employer. So nice and simple. It's done the same thing for all of these employees because we've got them all enrolled. Just record the paycheck. Okay, you'd now print off the pay slips, you'd send the full payment submission if necessary, and so on. We're not going to do those particular things right now. What we're going to have a look at is the auto-enrollment contribution file that you're going to need to send having run the payroll. So if we click into automatic enrollment here, this section will allow you to produce the export file that you're going to upload via your pension provider's internet portal, okay, which is likely to be a web page. Now in here we can only produce export files for Now Pensions, the People's Pension, and Nest. If we're doing other types of pensions, then we'll need to use a report to do that, which we'll have a look at in a moment. Okay, so this is very straightforward. We want to produce an export file for all employees paid monthly for tax month 1. And we have here the employees who are going to be included in the export file. If you'd like to, we can have a look and see what the actual export file is going to contain. Some of it can be edited, some of it can't. If it's grayed out, it can't be edited. If it's dark, then it can be edited. If we just click OK and select the employees that we want to include in the export. If you'd like to, you can review the information that's going to be included in the export as well. Just check that through. If there's anything that needs changing, you can go back into the customization of the submission. And when we're happy that everything's ready to go, we simply click on Create. And this will allow us to save our CSV file that we're going to upload to the pension provider. So we're going to choose a location of our preference. So we'll save it on the desktop. Let's do that here. And we will choose to call this file now April 2016. There we go. And click on Save. That will produce a CSV file. There it is. It's just popped up on the desktop here, ready for upload to Now Pensions in our case here. But what if we did not have now pensions or Nest or people's pensions? How are we going to produce an export file for those? So we'll do that via a new report. If we go to Reports and Payroll, and in the Payroll section under Tax and Compliance, you'll find Auto-enrollment contributions. If we customize this report, we get very similar selections to the automatic enrollment window that we looked at previously. So we're going to do all employees. The frequency is going to be monthly. We're going to do it for tax month 1, exactly as we did before. Okay, we can now choose the fields that we want to export. What we've done is included as many possible fields as we can so that there's the ability to create your own file bespoke in many ways. A whole bunch of fields here ready to be added to the report. What we're going to do is tick them all. We want all of them to go across. You're likely to need to edit some of this in Excel once you've created this file, but in most part, the information you require will be able to be generated from AccountEdge. So, having selected the employees, having selected the report fields we want to produce, we can display that. Okay, so here's our report. It's going to be very, very wide. It's not intended for printing. Instead, what we're going to do is click on Send and choose to send this to a comma-separated text file. Okay, it's called automatically here, auto-enrollment contributions. You might want to change that, give it a month or a reference of some kind. We'll leave it with this name for the moment. And again, this file is being created on the desktop. Click on Save. And there we go. Here's our auto-enrollment contributions file. That file will likely need to be edited to exactly match your pension provider's file format. So you're going to need to contact your pension provider, ask them for a file format, open that TXT file in Excel, maybe move a few columns around, and then resave it as a CSV for upload to your pension provider. So having processed the payroll, having sent that information over to the pension provider, at some point we're going to need to pay the pension provider. So we have a new report to do that. If we go into Reports and Payroll again, and once again under the Tax and Compliance section, you'll find a new report, Pension Contributions Liability Detail. If we customize this report, in this occasion we're going to run it for tax month 1 for all of our employees. If we display it, it'll show us the contributions for the employee, for the employer, and the total employee plus employer contribution. So here we go, Joe Bloggs, Penny Wheeler, Fred Fredrickson, their individual amounts, the total amounts, and on this example here, we're going to be paying £407.96 to the pension provider for month 1. So as you can see, automatic enrolment in AccountEdge Plus is very straightforward. But if you'd like more information, please have a look at the Mammoth website where you'll find some very straightforward guides to automatic enrolment, pension setups, and so on. Here we are. Here's the Mammoth support pages. And there's a payroll section where you'll find some information. But at the moment, on the top support notes section, you'll find the automatic enrolment guide and a pension setup and reporting guide. These PDFs are extremely useful for setting up your employees. Lastly, before handing back over to Todd, I'd like to invite you to have a look at our new Mammoth AccountEdge support website, which you can find at www.visma.co.uk/AccountEdge support. We've put a lot of effort into the new web page, and here you've got the general support notes, a payroll section, accounting and financial, sales and purchasing, AccountEdge Mobile, AccountEdge Cloud. And across the top, you'll also find we have an all download section if you need legacy downloads from our previous versions. We've got video tutorials, of which Todd has put a lot of work into, so definitely have a look at those. There's a wide selection. Training, contact, and the online help is all available from this website. Okay, thank you very much. I'll hand back over to Todd to complete this review of the 2016 version, and we'll see you soon.
Great job, Tony. Thanks for all the updates. So let's continue on. Other changes we've made are the ability to have 7 years of financial statements. So let's click on our Reports tab, and we'll come to our Accounts tab. So here you'll see our standard profit and loss, and if we customize it, you'll see the ability to go through and run these reports for current years and 6 years back. Keep in mind that if you've purged any detail through closing your fiscal years, you won't have that kind of detail to run these reports. So keep in mind as you close years going forward that if you want to run reports so it's 7 years of detail, you'll want to keep as much history as you can. Speaking of purging, we've made it a lot simpler to purge information when you're not doing a year-end close. So you can select Purge from the File menu and define which information you'd like to get rid of. So for example, you might want to get rid of all the leads that have not turned into customers and get rid of the existing quotes in your system tied to those leads. It makes it a lot simpler to keep your database smaller and get rid of records that you don't need. Going back to reports, we've also added additional reports to help you monitor the profitability of a lot of your details. So for example, if we go to the sales area, you'll notice there's a new section called Profit Analysis, and now you can get the profitability of your items, activities, or customers. So if we display it, you'll now see, as long as you're managing your cost of goods sales, we'll show you the profit and the profit percentage. This is a great way to know which of your items are selling profitably, which of your customers are most profitable, and the same with your activities. We mentioned leads earlier, and here's some of those lead reports. So you can get details on the quotes you've got in your system, as well as the detail and the source of all of your leads. Just click on and display, and you'll see the detail and where they came from. If you click on the card file report, you'll also see lead reports here. Again, a lead source report showing you where your leads came from, the current status of your leads, your lead aging report, which is great to see how many days a customer or a prospect has been in your system, and the status and source. And then finally, the lead conversion report, which is a great way to determine how many days it took to convert a lead into a customer. So here, for example, you'll see Jen's Java House, which we just did a sale for, and that it took 82 days to convert them from a lead to a customer, and that they came from one of your newsletter articles. We've also added advanced filtering in the bank register, sales, and purchases register. So in the bank register, you'll notice that there's new filter buttons. So we'll click on it, and we can select to search by all cards or a specific card. So let's select a specific card, and let's put a date range in. We have additional fields, and we can choose what journal we'd like to see. So now you'll see all the transactions for a specific customer. The same is true in the sales register, where you have filters here. So if I want to see all my sales transactions for a specific card or lead, I can do that here. And the same is true in your purchases register. So if I want to see details for a specific supplier, I can do that right here.
Thanks very much, Todd, and thanks to everyone for watching. If you'd like to know more about Mammoth AccountEdge products, please visit www.visma.co.uk.